much. Good evening, Joburgers. Welcome to the talk with the Speaker of Council. My name is Nongceba Mulwele, the Speaker of the City of Johannesburg. We are live on various platforms such as the City of Joburg social media platforms, as well as my own page, which is Nongceba Mulwele on Facebook, and at Speaker_COJ on Twitter. We are also live on Josi FM until 7:30 this evening, following which we will then take the stream and play it on Eldos FM from 8 to 9 p.m. We also have the Chai FM, who is on board with us. They will stream the show tomorrow morning, Thursday, from 9 o'clock until 10 o'clock in the morning. Greetings to my co-host, Dr. Fundi and Mr. Colin Hans. Greetings to the leadership on the platform. We have the Deputy Chief Whip, who is also the chairperson of the committee of the city called EISD, Environment Infrastructure Services Department, who is our usual person here. We were also expecting the chair of chairs. I'm not sure whether she has joined, but I'm greeting her in absentia. Greetings to all the listeners, all our viewers, officials, and our panel of experts. Today we have Ms. Busisiwe Ngwenya and Ms. Kanyisile Tsele. We have a house full of ladies today. Doc, welcome to you this evening, our panelists, my beautiful ladies. Before I proceed, I wish to take this opportunity to announce to the viewers that the City of Johannesburg Legislature will be hosting the commemoration of the sinking of the SS Mendi troop ships this coming Saturday at Avalon Cemetery. This is to commemorate the more than 600 men of service who lost their lives en route to France during the First World War. We will stream the service live on the City of Johannesburg and my social media pages on Saturday, the 20th of February, 2021. It will start at 1 o'clock until 2 o'clock. Please tune in. We are disadvantaged by COVID-19 pandemic. Otherwise, we would have invited you to be physically present at Avalon Cemetery. But please tune in on our platforms so that you can follow us. On that note, the Talk with the Speaker of Council is a platform that allows for the civic to be educated on many issues that relate to local government in general and the City of Johannesburg in particular. But we also strive to talk about matters that are of public interest to our local residents. Today, we are talking about the public participation process in the City of Johannesburg. Ladies and gentlemen, public participation is a key part of democracy. We are a democratic society. And because of this, we must ensure that in all that we endeavor to do, especially as local government, we do not leave our communities behind, but we take our communities along. And they are the ones who are supposed to give us mandate. It is more of an imperative, especially now during the pandemic, which has significantly altered our way of life. The success of participatory democracy lies in the meaningful participation of the citizenry. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, SDG number 11 of the 2030 Agenda, speaks of sustainable cities and communities. It speaks to the fact that by 2050, 2/3 of all humanity will be urban. That translates to about 6.5 billion people worldwide. Sustainable development cannot be achieved without significantly transforming the way we manage our urban spaces. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, as we plan for the future of our cities, we must be inclusive and we must ensure that citizens are part of our planning. It must be said that public participation is also a very significant aspect in ensuring comprehensive service delivery. So, ama-communities wethu, if abaparticipate kule process, it means siwumasipala sizobe sifailile at the first step of ensuring ukuthi service delivery yenzeka kwindawo esihlala kuzo. Ayikho into singayenza without our communities, without the voice from our communities. Ingako ku-public participation le esikuyo manje si-encourage ukuthi bakhulume basitshene izidingo zabo nezinto esingazenzanga. I-Chapter 7 ye-Constitution speaks to our objectives as local government. Without getting into detail, our Constitution mandate is to provide democratic and accountable government for local communities. It is also to ensure the provision of services to communities in a sustainable manner. It is to encourage the involvement of communities and community organizations in the planning process of local government, amongst others. There is a lot of legislation around the importance of public participation, and therefore, and given the fact that we are currently holding the community-based planning sessions around the city of Johannesburg as we speak, it was important for us to choose to talk about public participation today so that communities can understand exactly what it entails, its importance and its processes, and why is it important for the communities to participate. Today, we are joined by senior officials in the city of Johannesburg to unpack this topic for us. And I'm very pleased to introduce my first guest, Ms. Khanyisile Cele, who is the group head for group strategy, policy coordination and relations in the city of Johannesburg, known as GSPCR unit. We have also Ms. Busisi Wengwenya, who is the director for ward governance and community participation in the legislature of the city of Johannesburg. These two ladies will unpack public participation and will encourage people to participate on this platform. I welcome all our guests this evening, and without wasting any time, I will start with Usis Khanyisile, group head with GSPCR. Ukuthi asitshene about policy. So that we know key mandate of what the legislation says to enhance public participation. But from a policy coordination point of view, what is the policy or policies that inform public participation, especially with local government? So without further ado, I will hand over to you, Khanyi.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the question. And I think good afternoon to the viewers as well. Very critical, and I think your opening statement resonates with our policy in the city that we've adopted in terms of it driving the key fundamentals of what the Constitution actually seeks to has directed us as local government to actually achieve. And so we also have the local government, Chapter 4 of the MSA, of the Local Government Municipal Systems Act, which requires the city to develop a culture of municipal governance that complements formal representative government with a system of participatory governance. And so as a city, obviously taking from the Constitution, the provisions of the Constitution in terms of what we need to do, as well as legislative prescript, we have a participatory policy in the city, which was developed in the early 2000s, which really tries to ensure that public participation remains alive in the city. However, given the latest developments in the current landscape and where we want to take public participation in the city, there is then a need to review some of these policies and practices that the city has undertaken to make sure that our public participation becomes more meaningful and it then assists the city to respond effectively to the issues that are coming through from the ground. So as and when we are consolidating inputs coming from the grassroots, we need to ensure that our strategies really respond to what is happening on the ground. So our policy stance in this instance really is to ensure that it remains alive. Our participatory policy that was developed It remains relevant, that we have the policy that we have currently, and it remains responsive to the issues on the ground. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Khanyi. I'm now going to hand over to my co-host, the person that I'm chairing with, who is Colin Hans from Josie FM. But before I do that, let me welcome one of our guests as well, the chairperson of Moral Regeneration Movement, MRM Interim Committee, Ms. Zandinda Mase. You are most welcome, ma'am. Ntate Hans, itindi ifitisele ho wena ntate.
Diyabulela mama.
You will be calling the next speaker and questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you so much for joining us. We're coming live from Josie FM and from the council side through my co-host, Councillor Noneba Mulwele Mukhaitsu, the Speaker of the City of Johannesburg. We all know, colleagues, that public participation is a key part of our democracy. And this evening, we are discussing the critical matter as the Speaker of the City of Johannesburg, Councillor Mem Noneba Mulwele, mentioned in her opening remarks. And thank you so much to Ausa Kanyisile. Now we're moving to Ms. Busisiwe Ngwenya Olonkhoro is the Director for Ward Governance and Community Participation in the Legislature of the City of Johannesburg. Welcome to the show, and please tell us, talk us through the public participation process from the community-based planning to integrated development plan to budget cycles, etc. Ms. Ngwenya?
Thank you very much, co-host. Good evening, Madam Speaker, and all the leadership of the City of Johannesburg. May I take the opportunity of thanking the Speaker for making us part of this important discussion. And Tate Hans, your question is about the process of IDP, CBP, and the budget. Now, I'm sure we all know that budgeting, it's a continuous process. So the best way for me to explain is to start about where we are right now. But before I refer to where we are right now, is that in local government, whatever we do, we are governed by legislation. Khanyi has also referred to Chapter 4 of the Municipal Systems Act that deals specifically with community participation, and Chapter 5 deals specifically with the IDP. And one of the requirements for municipalities is that prior to implementing the budgeting process, there has to be a plan that is presented to council, and that plan explains each steps with the specific time frames. So the public participation that happens, it's within the plan that was presented to council. Our financial year as municipalities is the 1st of July to the 30th of June. Now, the relevance of knowing is that in developing a budget, it's a process, it's a planning process, and IDP is part of that planning process. And CBP, it's a mechanism that is used for ensuring that communities are part of this process. We are currently busy with CBP sessions, and it's February. Under normal circumstances, Mr. Hans, this process should have happened in November, which is the second quarter of the financial year of the municipality. And during that time, the municipality goes back to the community to say, this is what we have budgeted for, these were your needs, and this is what we are implementing. And whilst we are implementing, kindly provide us with your new needs for the new financial year. I wish to indicate that EIDP, it's a 5-year plan of a municipality. And it's 5 years because that is the term of office for local government. So in short, in terms of the process plan, in one financial year, there are 2 opportunities for communities via CBP to be consulted by the municipality. Firstly, during November, which is what is happening now, we are giving feedback as to what is it that we have done, what is it that we haven't done, and what is it that we will still want to do. From the information collected right now, a draft IDP is going to be developed and tabled in council in March. That draft IDP, after being noted in council, it's a draft because it lists the wish list of the communities and plans for what is possible within the limited resources of the municipality. So the draft goes to council end of March, and then in April, it's another opportunity for CBP consultation. We go back to the communities and say, this is the draft plan, and this is what we'll go through until the budget in June. So within a year, there are 2 terms or 2 different opportunities created for consulting with communities through the CBP process. I'm not sure if I'm making sense.
You're making a lot of sense on paper and in that building called council. But then I'm going to bring in also my co-host as Mamulwele to say, Mamulwele, we know for the fact that people always complain that you always tell the city what they need during the IDPs, but nothing ever gets done. Please comment on this as a group strategy, policy coordination and relations. Maybe also followed by Kanyisile Tele. Once the process of getting input from the community is done, this is where group strategy, I suppose, policy coordination and relations comes in. Kindly explain to us after Mamulwele that what is group strategy, policy coordination, and relationship, because of this are just jargons that are only relevant when it comes to those buildings that you guys are occupying. Mamulwele, and followed by Me Kanyisile Tele.
Thank you very much, Tate Hans, and allow me to speak, in a layman's language, without, as you said, using jargons. CBP, it's as explained by Umambusi as well as Kanyisile. It is a plan. Again, even kontlung how wa plan again. Wa plan gore ke batla is a 1, 2, 3 up to 10 was a list. And then the CBP, then it gets coordinated into IDP. So keep plan. So that plan then informs budget. So ligontlung wa plan gore ka ha kgwedi fela o batla o etsa 1, 2, 3 up to 10. Mara ha sentse o sheba what is in your pocket, how budget, and now you will find gore out of the 10 items Obo's phone, you are only able to get 5 out of 10. So you won't afford the 10. So that is the budgeting process. Then priority, prioritize what are the priority burning issues. So it doesn't happen during the process consultation, planning, that everything, it doesn't mean that everything will then find expression and be budgeted for, because i budget is less than izidingo. Then now fanele ku prioritize ke manje kwenziwe I think Ukanye will talk about the prioritization of things. So but what we are saying as uMasipala is that we must come back to the communities and say, out of the 20 items ebenizifunile kule area, i-budget ephasisiwe can only accommodate 10. We won't be able to do the 10. So that communication feedback, that is very important, so that people know what to expect. So that is why sometimes you find people but no mara ne ribatlile holo and a holo ha etsahala. Check what else has happened. If holo ha etsahala, there is something else that has happened according to the budget that has been approved by council. Thank you very much.
No, I think, Madam Speaker, what you've just indicated, is the crux in terms of because there's so many competing priorities. What is it that we are taking forward given the financial resources that we have as a city? And I think what really is a challenge at the moment is then how do we feed back to communities to indicate that you wanted a stock suite R5, but as a city we are able to provide you with maybe 3 stock suites, and really providing reasons as to why we couldn't provide all 5 stock suites. I'm just making a very layman example here. So that's it remains very critical, and that's why I indicated in my opening that in terms of our public participatory policies, those are the things that we're looking at and reviewing and ensuring that there is continuous sort of communication with communities, and that we don't only come to communities maybe like a once a year, but how do we make sure that we continuously communicate with citizens on what we're taking on board as a city, what is it that we're not taking on board with reason, obviously. And I don't think that communities are unreasonable. I think if we are transparent and we are able to openly communicate our challenges, then they're more receptive to the city. So I think, Madam Speaker, what you're raising is quite critical. Now, coming to GSPCR in terms of what is our role as such. So together with CRUM, Citizens Relations Urban Management Department, we then ensure that we provide content in terms of what projects are currently being implemented, what are the challenges when we go back to communities. So that presentation that we see, we put that together, we assist in putting that together. So content is what we drive. What we also do is, obviously, given the inputs that are coming through from communities, it then informs part of a report that we need to take forward and provide and put it through the city's sort of budgeting and planning system, so that we are able to see, can these projects be funded? Because essentially that's what it comes to. And also just assess in terms of, because there's some other community inputs that would come up and it's not within the competence of the city. So for example, they would say they want a school. And therefore, as a city, we don't build schools, but that's a competence of provincial. So how do we then make sure that, again, we have a conversation with another sphere of government in ensuring that we actually, deliver what is coming through from communities. So it's that whole process around content management and informing strategy. And obviously, ultimately, we are responsible for putting together the IDP that goes to council. And I think Umambusi has already touched on that. So we put that together and ensuring that community issues do find expression in the IDP when it goes out for consultation, and all of that is encapsulated in the IDP. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Matele. But all 3 colleagues out there, we know for the fact that IDPs are happening, VD meetings are happening. The dynamics of politics on the ground is a total different animal. From the point that a poor councillor is working so hard in a particular ward will call meeting for the discussion of this IDPs. But because of either not liked or the political tension in the ward, you find that the councillor is exposed to the same few number of people that he knows or that just want to find out what's happening. The crux of the matter is when a project starts or when people didn't benefit the way they want to benefit, that's when we see a large group of people coming to say, he's not calling meetings, he's not doing VD meetings and all that, only to find that the poor guy or the poor lady has been doing that. The dynamics on the ground, how close are we to those dynamics? And what is our understanding? Any of my colleagues can come in here. Maybe in fairness, you can come in just to take a bite of that, and the other colleagues can follow.
Maybe that Hans, without disturbing, if we can also delegate this question to Councillor Mfikwe, who is also responsible for service delivery on the ground, to assist. Well, maybe after Mabusi, with your permission, maybe Lena again, just to talk about those political dynamics on the ground and the blaming of councillors for service delivery failures.
Granted, I grant that. Matele? Mebusisi Ngwenya?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Mtate Hans, the issue of the challenges in the communities, that's the reality that councillors are facing. And for us as the administration, the least we can do is to provide the councillor with the support that he or she needs in convening those meetings. I think as Uspika indicated, maybe the deputy chief whip will be able to assist in trying to deal with the politics on the ground, because Uspika is right. Councillors get attacked for example, the problem with Eskom right now. Communities march to the councillor's house and demand a connection of electricity. But the councillor has no role or responsibility in the provision of the electricity. That's the reality. But I don't know, maybe Deputy Chief Whip might be able to, to give a better explanation to the issue. Thank you, Ntate Hans.
Thank you very much, Ma. As we are waiting for that show of hand, or maybe from the facilitators from the side of the city, as I have no power to see who's there, who's not there. Please, let's just get somebody to respond on these issues, because it's very critical that we ought to bring closer to our hearts the dynamics on the ground. Amlele?
Councillor Mfikwe, are you still on?
I was waiting for somebody to say I can speak now.
Okay.
Anyway, good evening to the Josie FM listeners, as well as the other listeners from the other radio stations that are going to join in. Madam Speaker, probably, and we've had this discussion with Colin, we need to firstly clarify the role of councillors in relation to them servicing their communities. Firstly, councillors serve communities. They are the representatives of communities. So communities from time to time would have to raise issues with councillors. Then councillors
Mamfikwe?
Then elevate those issues to either the exec they are working with of those issues. Granted, because sometimes that communities would want, and the fact that communities would have given those issues to their ward councillors and to PR councillors in instances where both are working well, would make the communities to be very frustrated. And they would go to councillors and take out the frustration. We have indicated, and through even Colin's show, that it is wrong for communities to come and fight with. We have informed Eskom. A good case in point is the Eskom situation. Council and councillors do not have jurisdiction over Eskom. Eskom is ran and controlled by national government. What we do as councillors with Eskom is to interface on behalf of communities. And we as councillors can never be responsible for any decision or any response that ESCOM will give to communities. So what we do is to talk to ESCOM on behalf of communities. Then ESCOM must give us the responses. We're battling, and I've said this, Colin, to you, battling to get them to come back and talk to communities themselves. But then councillors will do the interface. So that is important for our communities to understand that councillors are not responsible, Madam Speaker, for instance, doing a road, you know, for cutting trees, for cutting grass, for making sure that electricity is there. But councillors must be able to say to city parks, in my ward 22, there is overgrown grass, there is trees that are big. Can you please come and cut? Because my community has raised these issues with me. Then city parks and whoever else must come and cut. If they do not cut, we can never fault councillors for that. Basically, councillors are doing oversight over all these entities, a very limited oversight over ESCOM, but for the cities, entities, and departments, councillors are doing oversight and raising and elevating issues that they're able to pick up. So it's just unfortunate that most of the time our communities do not understand that once councillors have issued or elevated their issue or escalated their issues, then councillors cannot come and say to an official, you know, because at the end of the day, the executive that is led by the executive mayor must be the one that whips the officials more than us as councillors, because they are signing scorecards, they are responsive on these issues. For me, it's important, and I think this process and this program, Madam Speaker, helps us in clarifying some of these roles. And it is important for our community to know that councillors represent them in council. So whatever councillors take must be from communities to council, so that council can respond and sort out the issues that councillors for their communities are raising.
Thank you, Ma'am.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Fika. We want to take a call from our listeners just to check exactly. Oh, the call is gone. Ma'am Fika, I'll just say to the Speaker of Council, we know for the fact that the three priorities of governing are namely education, followed by education, and lastly, education. If it comes to a push, we've seen how the creatives were hit by the pandemic. Surely one way or the other, to reach the people of the country, there must be some budget set aside for us to do education through creatives so that we play these things. I mean, programs that are most popular now, it's programs that looks at, you know, the ills in the societies, the misconceptions, the myths and all that. There are programs that are designed lately that are so educational, though a lot of people may take them for granted. Why can't we go that route where we put our budget into creatives and say, you creatives out there, you must tender for somebody who can come up with a program that will look and depict these environments, however worse, however good, so that people can then learn through what they see. Because of people, when they watch these things, there is somehow the mindset shift of some sort. At what point is education becoming important now that we're seeing there's so much discourse on the ground, and it's all about on the ground? On paper, clean. IDPs, clean. Choose what you like, clean. But what is the determining factor that whatever we choose in our community is not going to be narrowed to, it's not our principle, it's not our discipline? Because of people are tired of hearing that.
Okay, let me respond and bring back the meeting. That this is one of the reasons why we are doing community participations now. That is why we are bringing our communities along. When it's important for really government, really masipala, anything that we do with our communities, so that we are on the same page with our communities. Our communities know well and good, and that thing does not happen. What are the reasons? So I think that is that. Maybe I think we need to, once we're talking about the educating our communities, give to Sisbusi just to tell us, Hori, with this pandemic, how do we do community education, especially with the CPP process? How do we go about in doing this process with the pandemic, where we are unable to call physical meetings, go long, like we usually do? So as we are severely affected, I think Mambuse will take us through some of the mechanisms that we do as a city of Johannesburg, especially Department Ward Governance, to undertake and mitigate against these circumstances in making sure people get the knowledge that they deserve to have from the city. And then after that, then we hear from Ki acknowledge Bamamedi ba Josie FM as well as ba Eldos FM, Lichai, and all the channels and the platform. I think that the answer, you will also be calling some callers to, and also people with messages to talk to us. Thank you.
Yeah, we got some time. Let's take a call before Ma Busingwenya. Let's take a call. Caller, good evening. Caller, good evening.
Caller, Sawbona.
Sawbona, Bab.
Unkosi lokhuluma from Chablane ngisuka eBramfish.
Yebo, Bab.
Ithatha days yami ngiyenze eKopano eDursenville ngoba bengihlala kasiswami ngihlupheka ngenandla. And then I had to go to stay to the house of the girlfriend.
But Baba.
And
yeah,
mama. And ithatha days yami ayibuya manje housing department. Ngifika lapha kusese isawa street 2 kilo isekho igujiwe namanje lapha is very good.
Okay.
And then ithatha days yami ibiza e-30 ibiza e-30 kuhlala omunye umuntu ngegama lakhe ngesithombe sakhe everything.
Oh, okay.
Ikhansela lethu laseGwamfisha.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the house does not belong to me.
Okay. I think, please do me a favor, Baba. We are dealing with a different matter. Leave me a phone number, call 982-4134. Leave me a message there because it's a different topic you're talking about. Share a reception. Baba, share a message, a reception, 982-4134. Leave the message for me there. Let's go back to the panel. Yarona will help Baba on the other side. Mama Busisi Wengwenya, the dynamics around the case, the pandemic is not allowing us, whether we like it or not, where we are, the pandemic is not allowing us to see this wonderful participation happening in wars and what. Just apply mechanisms possible for the new normal.
Thank you very much, Tate Hans. I think one of the most popular alternative means of communication, which we have found and have exploited, is the use of WhatsApp. With WhatsApps, we are able to, upload videos, post e-booklets about whatever topic that you want to present. And one of the topics that we presented before is on petitions, how to lodge a petition, which is a way of saying to the community, your councillor is there to help you deal with whatever problem you have through the petition system. So the councillor can't attend to your electricity or grass problem, but the councillor can help you address the issue through the petition systems. And other ways of reaching out, it has been through emails. Because of the pandemic, as a directorate, we were forced to update our database so that it's up to date and it has different avenues for reaching out to communities. So we have been using emails. We have been using SMSs as well, and also using the social media, the Joburg social media. And as the speaker has been mentioning, she also has her own social media page, which is very active. And recently, the city of Johannesburg has launched a virtual TV and radio station, which I think it's an avenue that would be available for us to exploit and use. Thank you very much, Ntate Hans.
Thank you so much, Busisi Ngwenya. Now, let's look at the other challenge. What has been the challenges that units come across when preparing for these cycles? Maybe we can start, then come back to you, Busisi, just to share the challenges. Matele?
Yes, sorry. I think I was pressing, but it wasn't going through. I think in the past, maybe getting maximum participation coming through, so that community input becomes a true reflection of the needs of the communities at large has been a challenge in the past. So getting people coming into a hall in some parts has been a challenge. However, I think through our virtual platforms that we've undertaken as a city to engage with communities, compared to previous years, we are seeing more people. I mean, our very first meeting, I think we had, I don't know, about 160 something odd people. And I think in the past, there has been a challenge to get the feet coming through, walking through those halls. But I think we're reaching more people through the virtual means. So we've been thrust into this fourth IR and it's assisting us. But also, we do also sense in some parts, I think there was a session that we had, I think, if I'm not mistaken, on Monday, and we could pick that the inequality is still sort of there. When you look at the number of people that managed to log on, I can't remember which region it was, but it was around Orange Farm. So you could see that, the number of people logging on are not as what we hoped would be. Again, that, poses issues around inequality. Are people around Orange Farm able to access and be part of that? So it's something that the city obviously needs to look at and ensure that it's more fair and that we have more reach even in communities that don't have access as such. So I think in terms of it being a challenge in the past, I think we are making headways in getting more people to participate in the virtual sort of means. And I think through WhatsApp, getting comments through WhatsApp as Busi has also indicated. The other challenge is I think I alluded to it earlier on, was that some requests are of IGR nature and or are of competence of another sphere of government. And when you go to a community doesn't care whether you are local government and therefore you can't deliver a police station. You are here, you are government, we need to, you need to respond appropriately. You need to be seen to be doing something about it. And so education also becomes an important element to educate our communities that this is what local government can do, this is what provincial government can do, this is what national can do. But however, we are one government, there needs to be mechanisms on how we speak to each other and how we complement each other so that there's no gap in as far as when we need to respond to community. The other one obviously is for me is about the fact that, given issues that are coming through, the fundamental truth is that we still have issues around financial resources. As a city, we would want to respond to myriad of things and be responsive and deliver. But there's always competing sort of issues and we always have to prioritize. So, and prioritization really becomes a challenge of its own. So what is it that we can actually take forward and what is it that we can't take forward because we don't have unlimited resources? So that becomes also a challenge in as far as us as bureaucrats, that we want to make sure that things actually happen and move, and we'll do all that we can. But given the limited resources and obviously the ailing economy, revenues are shrinking. We as a city are feeling that the fact that the economy is ailing, and it's revenues are shrinking, it becomes a problem in terms of what is it that we then need to prioritize and what is it that will make an impact on the men on the streets ultimately. For me, those are the sort of challenges that I pick up. But I mean, there's myriad of other challenges.
Thank you, Makele. And I like it because of you mentioned this issue that communities out there do not care. To a point that I think it's also important, goes to council, that anybody who finds themselves in a leadership position must expand knowledge of knowing what's around them, so that it's easier, because of people need answers. And if the issues that we find on the ground is that when people avoid them, there comes an approach of conflict. And we don't want to find ourselves in that space. So it's important that leadership, irrespective of local, provincial, and national, at whatever sphere where you're calling a meeting, people expect you to have a bit of knowledge so that you can readdress them and give them a surety that education is what you have. And you know that though it's not your competency, allay the fears, so that people can then start trusting you on those issues. Mukansala Rawame, my co-host, I even saw also acknowledging Dr. Nyati, my official spin doctor. Is not by profession, but it's what I called at him. And I acknowledge you, Dr. Nyati, and other people taking part. Then you want to have one bite, Dr. Nyati?
No, I think let me let this one pass.
Wonderful. I acknowledge your presence. Thank you so much, sir. Now,
we encourage community participation, Doc. So if you are not participating, it means you don't want to be part of community participation.
Now that you're on the platform, because I'm just going to leave you now, I just want you to look at that point where we actually expand education for our own councillors, so that they must have a clue of what happens in other disciplines. It mustn't be like it's taken like our councillor is arrogant. When you talk about housing that we even spoke about in our wish list, we'll tell you that's not my business, that's not my competence. So how best can we empower this environment that our councillors should be loaded with a lot of information, even across their disciplines?
No, when councillors join council, part of the induction of councillors and adherents, one, they are given the rules of council. Two, they are given a code of conduct for councillors, and they are taken through the code of conduct for councillors, which includes how do you conduct yourself as a public representative. And there are also many more skillings or sessions, or what do you call it? There are many more sessions that councillors are being taken through. I remember myself when I started to be a councillor in year 2000, I went to a course, and in fact, I went to a number of courses. I think ourselves with Councillor Mfigwe, our group, we went to a number of courses, and one of the courses was about how do you manage your anger as a person, how do you manage your temper. It was about managing yourself. How do you stay put even in difficult circumstances? Because if you are a public representative, you come across different kinds of people or different characters. Sometimes people would swear at you for something that is not, within your ambit. People will call you names and all that in a particular meeting. Then you need to know how do you then respond, and how do you hold yourself, because everybody can be angry, but how do you then manage your anger as a person? So councillors are being taken through different courses, and which includes how to govern. Because remember, sometimes when you've been elected as a councillor, you have never governed before. And there are those opportunities in council where you are taken through how government works first as a public representative. So you are, as councillors, we are loaded with a lot of experience now and a lot of knowledge in terms of how do you handle community issues. So our councillors are really taken through that process. The unfortunate part is that that process is only for councillors, not for the communities themselves. That is why now we are embarking on community-based education, on communities, on empowering our communities, on what is the role of a councillor. And even now, in the process of CBP, what is the role of councillor? Because our councillors are also part of this CBP process. They attend all these sessions with their communities, and their voice there, it's about the communities. They talk about the issues of their communities.
Mamlele ere nna ke go leboge mmaruna jaaka ke tsa morwalo ke o sia le wena ke itse I'll get a briefing ya gore what happened ha fetsa go tswela mo radio jalo ke tsa tsotlhe ke di fa wena Mamlele. Thank you so much, and to all the lovely guests, Miss Busisiwe Ngwenya le mme Cele leboga go menagane mme Mfikwe go tsena jalo Mamfikwe ke ra gore Mamlele o tla tswela ka kganye ka mmamoso ka itse tla mpha a transcript of what happened in the last few hours when you're still engaging with the lovely citizens of the city of Johannesburg.
Thank you very much to yourself, Nate Hans, my co-host, Josie FM. Re-encourage Liba Mamedi Khori. They must engage with us. Next time, they must call, they must send messages. Once we encourage a participation of the viewers and the listeners, Kikupe Ntate Masiho, Sipo, what our viewers are saying. Hans, thank you very much. Thank you very much to Josie FM.
The discussion. Fellow South Africans, the first set of good
news. Thank you very much, Esipo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much to Moshe as well as Collins for a very interactive discussion. Madam, I just thought maybe before I get onto the comments, because I just thought I can share this information about the number of participants that have been participating in this CBP that have been taking place for the different regions. To start off with, for Region A, there were about 110 people who attended on Microsoft Teams. And Region B, we're still going there. Region C, there were 164. Region D1, it's 420. D2, 382 people. Region E, 163. Region F had 375 people. And Region G, nearly 344. And these are just a number of people. They came onto our platforms to participate. And this excludes the people by go Twitter, like any go Facebook, and have also made their comments. And there were over 187 comments on the platforms in total. There were 45 emails that have been sent so far. And on the website, there was 202 comments that came from the website. So as previously said, Madam, this is possibly one of the first times where a strong participation from communities and strong input from communities. So going to social media to acknowledge the people. Simpiwe Joy says, our speaker, Steve says, you can never achieve an effective public participation without the vibrant public education on municipal governance. Lebo says, councillors are corrupt, especially when it comes to allocation for RDPs. Where do we report them? I see Mam Chidimfikwe responded there saying, the allocation of RDP houses remains the sole responsibility of the housing department. Once they have done all they do, they only inform councillors about the people that will be allocated, just for them to have that information, nothing more. Ward Siale responses, Chidimfikwe, people took RDPs by force here in Oliven, and is the second time now, nothing happened. So those are the only comments. And Also to acknowledge Elders FM, and thank you very much to Elders FM for playing the stream. And tomorrow we'll be live on Chai FM. So thank you from my side, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. I know that in most of the questions that were raised, Councillor Mfikwe has responded online as well. But before I give Osisbusi to speak, I just want to mention that, we know that there is corruption. However, corruption is committed by individual. It is not corrupted, it is not committed by all of us or by everybody. So it is important to say no neighbor is corrupt. Riskari councillors are corrupt, because if we say councillors are corrupt, it means we are painting everybody with the same brush. And how to ati councillors are corrupt, it means really corrupt, and I know for a fact that I am not corrupt. So I think it is important that our society, as much as we encourage our society to expose corruption, however, the society must be able to say, no neighbor u corrupt because of 1, 2, 3, and 4. It should not be a general statement that councillors are corrupt. So it's important. We want to know if corruption is people can write to us, to the city. They can even write to the Speaker of Council or to the Chief Whip of Council. We have the Chief Whip of Council who is responsible for coordinating all the party whips within council. If we councillor wa party anything or committee corruption, that has to be reported. Of course, it's something evidence. So the Chief Whip of Council will then channel that to the party that has deployed that particular council. And there are processes in council. We have ethics committee go council. We all the wrongs that councillors are doing. The ethics committee is about the conduct of councillors. Then on top of that, we also have the integrity commissioner. Integrity commissioner is the vanguard for the code of conduct for councillors earlier on. So there are structures within council as it discipline ama councillors that have done wrong. Council has, even in the previous instance, went to a position it dismiss a council. There are councillors that have been dismissed. Obviously, there are processes. When I need the steps, as tatwayo nayo councillors was kulumela, and then kuthathwa decision iye ku MEC either endorse what the council or the integrity commissioner has recommended or what the ethics. So when the processes of disciplinary councillors, we encourage communities to report corruption, but as well, we must not generalize corruption. Thank you very much. Mambusi.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. I just wanted to add to the impressive stats that USIPO was giving us about the participation with CBP. The stats that USIPO gave us, it's halfway through our sessions. So we still have about 15 more sessions to run, and the 4 sector, which is youth, women, PWDs, and business. So it's that Sagasipo, impressive, but it's for half the sessions that we have planned for. Thanks, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. And maybe just to also add is that the input that are being received in these sessions are the inputs that are going to assist in developing the IDP, the draft IDP. It's not like sessions, because sometimes we would go to sessions even years before and they just become complaint sessions. Aruna any a mandate or message that the community wants to relate to cancel. Yeah. So this time around, we are really getting very, very valid input from the communities, and Raleboha. We thank our communities for that. they are really assisting the process. Now I'm going to give time to our panelists just to say the last word. What are you saying to our communities and the CPP cycle, and where can they make their inputs? Those who are unable, and yourself, Khanyi, who are unable to attend or to tune into a Microsoft platform, where can they give their inputs? Because we still want to source inputs from the communities, even those who are unable to connect. So that will be your last word and your last bite on this. Because you are already on the platform.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I think in addition to your compliment for input that we are receiving, we also need to remind ourselves and the residents, Uguti, this year there's going to be elections, so there's going to be a new term of office. So the contributions that we are receiving are also going to shape the new IDP for the new office, political term of office. But in response to your question, Madam Speaker, communities who were not able to attend the virtual sessions, we have an email address that is dedicated for communities, residents, and stakeholders to still give their input. And the email address is cbpinputs, it's plural, cbpinputs@joburg.org.za. And they can also submit their input on the Joburg website, www.joburg.org.za. They will find a page there where they can submit their input. But for the benefit of those who cannot have access to internet, we are also providing input forms that can be dropped at the different offices, Zama councillors. So if our residents want to know where they can drop, please feel free to contact me, and then I can refer you to the relevant officials or office where you can drop your input. My name is Busisi Wengwenya, and you will be able to find my number in the city of Johannesburg. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mamungwenya. Thank you very much, Director. And Khanyi, Ms. Tele.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you, Sis Busi. I think my last parting words is really to encourage communities to really partner with the city on various issues. And I think it's important that we educate communities, and I think it came out pretty strongly here in the discussions today around education, around how do we then make use of education for communities to understand how how local government really works, so that when we do have these engagements on the basis of all of us understanding our different role players. So continuous education needs to happen, but also just to encourage the communities to really get in touch and come through to the sessions and form part of the new term in terms of the priorities that would be taken forward in the new term. As Busi has indicated, now we are heading towards elections, so they need to go out there, they need to vote. They also need to assist the city in mapping a way forward for the city, so that the city then responds to what matters to them. And unfortunately, the city and the officials cannot do that without the residents. So it's really a journey that we need to walk together collaboratively with the citizens. And lastly, just to indicate that when the city does provide or respond through projects or capital projects, we also implore citizens to actually look after those projects in their communities. So if it's a community hall, we implore citizens to look after the community hall. It's their hall. You wouldn't necessarily, vandalize your own house. So it really needs to be a journey that we as a city and we as citizens need to take in the developmental agenda of the city at large. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tele. Thank you very much. Councillor Mfikwe, your last parting words. And after you, it will be Doc.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me thank the radio stations that we've partnered with. They also help in educating communities. And I want to say, keep up doing that, Colin, and Radio Eldos and Radio Chai as well. We really appreciate that you are allowing us to be our voice. It is indeed important to educate, Colin, educate, so that at a point all of us understand that councillors and us as citizens have equal responsibility in the governance of local government. You know, so for me, Madam Speaker, it's important that we understand that public participation cannot happen if residents themselves are not active participants. So I want to say, let us continue engaging. Communities know where to go, what to do, because if they are not there participating, we will be sitting there as council and taking wrong decisions that are not going to benefit them as the residents of Johannesburg and anywhere else where there are local governments and residents. So thank you for this opportunity, Madam Speaker. We also continue educating our citizenry. So I want to say big up to you and to your team as well. And Dr. Nyati always being there for you, being a willing player. I hope I can talk for style when I Dr. Nyati. Then we must do this too, you know, but thank you very much. You make your work great, all of you, including the team in the Speaker's office. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And you too, Madam. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chairperson Mfikwe. It is sive ngayo Dr. Nyati go to Fostiwe. Dr. Nyati, your parting shot.
Well, thank you very much, Speaker. I've not been forced by anyone. I think I was born of teachers, you know, and so I think somewhere within me, there's a part of me, you know, wanting to facilitate things that have to do with teaching and empowerment. But as a citizen of Joburg, I think it's important that the municipality, you know, is able to reach out to its people. I also, from time to time, get frustrated about billing issues, but we'll talk about that on another day. You know, it's one big issue that I hope one day we will be told that it is history. But for today, I was glad to just listen and hear what other people are saying. And thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nyati. In fact, I think the team is listening. In one of the sessions as part of community education, we will indeed ask people who are working with billing to explain how do they determine billing and how do they reach and how does it work and how do they calculate your usage of the services and how do you get billed. So yeah, because you are not the only one who's talking about that. We've had some from other community members complaining about billing. So we will really invite the MMC responsible as well as the people who are directly working with the bills. So we will put them. I know that they had outreach programs that they were doing to communities to talk about the billing issues. So we will invite them to this platform because this is the platform for our communities. And before you become an educator, as you are an educator by default, you are a citizen of the city of Johannesburg. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to our panelists. You were great. You were really great. Thank you very much, Director Ngwenya, Ms. Tele. Thank you very much to you, Councillor Mfikwe, for your inputs. Thank you very much to yourself, Bele. So I know that because after this, you are on other platforms doing the very same education. So education is actually in your veins and educating communities is your hobby. So thank you very much. And thank you very much to the team that has been working behind the scenes in making sure that our communities are really empowered. But thank you very much to the media platforms that were here, Josie FM, Eldos FM, Chai FM. Thank you so much. We are looking forward to have more community media, community radios to empower our citizens. It's not about us, it is about communities. Community empowerment is our goal. Thank you very much. We are in the CBP process. CBP inputs at joburg.org.za. If you are unable to tune in into our Microsoft Teams platform, or you can also use www.joburg.org.za, as Sibuse has said. But please, we need your inputs. We are together, we are partners. Yourselves as community members and the city of Johannesburg, we are partners. Without you, the city won't be able to function. You are very important stakeholders of the city of Johannesburg. Indeed, Kanye spoke about the importance of voting. We will come back and not tell you whom to vote for, but to tell you the importance of voting, the importance of having your voice in the governing of the city. Together, we shall really take this city of Johannesburg, the city of gold, to another level. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have come to the end of the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
All the
Thank
best
you, madam.
people
Thank
with
you,
the tournament.
everybody. Good night.
Thank you. All
Night. Nana, thank you, Zantinda Mase.
Thank you, Doc. Appreciate it, Doc.
Doc, you're rocker. Doc is a rocker's doctor.
18-year-old. You'll pull some muscles there.
Doc is a doctor. Is a doctor with a difference.
He's rocking. Yeah, rock dog.
Yeah.
Hey, Doc. Keep well.
All right. Cheers, man.
Hello, Sis Vesu. Sis Vesuliwe is still here from the MRM. I think she's left.
Suliwe. Thank you very much. Suliwe,
Thanks,
thank
Madam
you very much.
Speaker.
Thank you, man.
Bye.
Bye.